911, what's the address of your emergency?
Hi, 1313 Esther Drive, Boulder City, Nevada.
Okay, and what phone number are you calling from?
259-8979.
And what's the problem? Tell me exactly what happened.
My name is Hans Walters.
Mm-hmm.
I work for Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. I just shot and killed my son, Max, and my wife, Michelle. And I killed her because she's in such chronic pain from her neck and back and on more medicines and she's not going to survive. And we were both seeing a therapist and a psychologist in Boulder City. His name is Jay Summers. And I feel terrible for doing it.
Okay, and
okay, voice out. Please don't interrupt me, please.
Okay.
I've also set the house on fire, and if the fire department comes to my house, because there's a fire hydrant right in front of my house, I'm going to open fire on them. So I have to wait till the house is burning, and then I'm going to shoot myself. Okay? So
okay, sir.
I don't ask me any questions. This is real. This isn't a joke. The fire alarms in the background is because I set the garage and the bedroom on fire. My wife's in the bedroom. I shot her in the head. My son, unfortunately, is in the living room watching Oswald, and I shot him in the head, too. And, forgive me for my sins. Please don't call back. Thank you.
Shortly after hanging up, Hans, a 52-year-old off-duty lieutenant for the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, would be seen exiting his residence holding a handgun and motioning at Boulder City officers to retreat. Hans would head back inside the home, and soon after, SWAT team members would discover Hans's lifeless body near the front door, apparently the victim of a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. Catherine Michelle Walters and 5-year-old Maximilian were also discovered lifeless inside the home. A subsequent investigation included interviews with coworkers, family, neighbors, and first responders. Hans's wife, Catherine, better known by her middle name, Michelle, had also worked as a police officer for several years prior to retiring from her position in 2005. At some point, she would sustain a back injury that only worsened over the years, eventually taking a massive toll on Hans's finances and his mental and emotional well-being. Most would come to agree that in all likelihood, Hans had started to feel that his mounting responsibilities were more than he could handle all on his own. Neighbors all seemed to agree that Hans and Michelle were a private couple who liked to keep to themselves, but they were also seen as a good couple. They were good together, and there had never been any indication of abuse or violence taking place within the household.
Where's your emergency?
I need to report a murder.
Okay, where is that, sir?
167 Redstone Drive in Warrington.
157?
167.
Okay, can you tell me about what's going on there?
Mother and son bludgeoned to death.
And you just found that?
Yes.
Okay, who are you?
I'm the husband.
Did you do it?
Yes, I did.
What's your name, sir?
Chris.
Last name?
Moyer.
M-O-Y-E-R?
Correct.
What's your phone number, Chris?
It is 267-927-0245.
You're there now?
Yes.
Okay, 167 Redstone?
Correct.
Okay, are you sure they're dead?
I am positive.
Okay, are you still armed?
No.
Okay, I'll get somebody right out there for you, Chris.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It was Friday night on June 17, 2011, when a disturbing call came through to dispatchers in Warrington, Pennsylvania and Bucks County. Only moments ago, at about 9:40 p.m., the caller, a 44-year-old self-employed software consultant named Chris Moyer, had carried a baseball bat into the bedroom he shared with his 39-year-old wife, Irina Geller Moyer, and proceeded to bludgeon her to death while she slept. Chris next made his way down the hall and into the bedroom of his 7-year-old son, Dylan. Gripping the bat firmly in both hands, Chris would strike his son's skull with the same lethal force. Later, the young boy's body would be discovered in his room, just as his father had left it. The bloodied blunt weapon would be found beside the boy. Irina, who was originally from the Ukraine and whom Chris had appeared more than excited to wed back in 2002, was oddly found in the bathroom adjacent to the master bedroom with a towel wrapped around her head. For whatever reason, it appeared that her husband and assailant had dragged her in there. An autopsy would later rule that both victims had died as the result of massive head trauma. It is believed they died quickly, no evident signs of a struggle. What took place following the bludgeoning we know. It would take Chris, once thought to be a decent husband and father, roughly 1 minute to confess to what he had done. Naturally, police and rescue would be dispatched to the scene, a spacious 4-bedroom home the Moyers had purchased back in 2003 for upwards of $450,000. Because Chris had not remained on the line with 911, nobody knew of his whereabouts when they pulled up to the home on the 100 block of Redstone Drive. As a result, they would not enter the Moyer residence until approximately 11 p.m. When they did, they would finally discover the bodies of Irina and Dylan, but there would be no traces of Christopher within the home. This is because Chris, as it turned out, actually wasn't finished carrying out that evening's plans. After making his morbid confession to 911, he would drive his Toyota Camry to Hatboro and park the vehicle nearby some SEPTA tracks, SEPTA being the name for the region's public transportation system. Then he would lay his head across the tracks and simply await the next scheduled train to come barreling by. Surely enough, a couple of hours following Chris's initial call, another call would come into 911, this time to report the discovery of Christopher Moyer's body at the SEPTA tracks. Following this unspeakable crime, people naturally wondered why. What could have driven Chris Moyer, a seemingly happy, successful man with a lovely wife and son, to commit an act of such depravity? Even Chris's own dad had spoken with Chris on the phone earlier that same day. As he would relate to investigators, Chris had seemed in good spirits throughout that phone call. A subsequent investigation would be conducted, and everyone who knew the Moyers would be interviewed. Although neighbors would describe the couple as liking to keep to themselves, they also said that they had never known Christopher and Irina, better known by her middle name Elizabeth, to have any problems. Their only son Dylan was outgoing, they said, but he also seemed to prefer fiddling around with computers over playing outdoors. Irina, aka Elizabeth, was always friendly, but she rarely really left the house. As far as the way Chris was perceived, most referred to him as quirky, while only one or two individuals would go so far as to call the man controlling. At the end of the day, when all was said and done, by the looks of it, the couple seemed happy, and investigators strongly doubted that Chris's motive had ultimately anything to do with his relationship with his wife or any dynamic occurring within the home. Investigators would also note the fact that all evidence pointed to the killings being premeditated. This, of course, negated any kind of theory that the act had been committed in the heat of an argument, perhaps. Not only had both wife and son been killed in their sleep, but it appeared as if Chris had planned everything. Another piece of evidence indicative of premeditation was perhaps also a note which Chris had left taped to the house's front door. The note simply included a list of names and numbers of people he wanted to have contacted in the wake of his grisly crimes. In the end, it was decided that Chris's motive was most likely financial in nature. The investigation had revealed a history of financial difficulties, which many believed is most likely what pushed Chris over the edge. Records specifically uncovered that in 2006, the family had narrowly managed to avoid foreclosure, and that more recently, in September of 2010, the state filed a lien against the couple's home yet again. For whatever reason, Chris may have come to see the act of a double murder-suicide as a necessary last resort to a mounting financial problem, and a worsening future that he couldn't otherwise repair.